Welcome Annakuma crew, it is once more your favourite friendly despair bear Annakuma, and we're here to talk about Rosewater. I'm getting down to business because boy do I have things to say. If life has gone the way it should have for once in 2025, then Lamplight City's review should already be out, and if it is, and you've seen it, then you'll know that both this review and the Lamplight City ones are going to be incomplete. Now, I'm not saying I'll do an hour-long in-depth piece on each game. Maybe I will, I don't know, but both games have so much more to talk about than one playthrough will allow, and for brevity and my own sanity, I am starting with more simple reviews. I will though be coming back to both games maybe after I finish some of my other bigger projects. So Rosewater, how was it? If you watched the demo review video, I was super excited about this game, and I stayed super excited about this game all the way to the ending. We play as Harley, the older sister of Bill Leger, you know, the dead guy in Lamplight City.
I was thinking I might visit Harley out west. She makes it sound like a dream in her letters.
After raising her brother, being a professional fighter to get money, and obviously at this point losing her brother, Harley travels to the frontier town of Rosewater to make her fortune as a writer.
One thing I know, I am ready for a change of scene.
Now, this all plays out in the demo. She's given the job of writing a fluff piece on gentleman Jake Ackerman, who after you heckle his show and help him in a bar fight, asks if you want to go on a treasure hunt with him.
Now, nothing so uncouth as that. Picture this, a swashbuckling pirate captain, his vessel freighted with treasure. The vast fleets of law and order circling him, closing in. He digs a hole in the sands of some sun-kissed tropical beach to conceal his ill-gotten loot, and makes himself scarce. Circumstance conspires to deprive him of the opportunity to return. Now, he's the brave treasure hunter who seeks and unearths the bounty guilty of robbery? Or is he just returning to the world what would otherwise lie forgotten and worthless?
Rosewater then turns into a beast of three very distinct parts. Part 1 obviously includes the demo, but then sees you set off to find clues to the whereabouts of Dr. Bennett Clark's fortune. You'll get to visit his abandoned lab and a cult that formed around him and his research. Mostly the relatives of victims of an expo disaster he created that killed a bunch of people. But yeah, cult, doing cult things. You'll also get the Grundislav special in that they build up parts of the world they don't need to. You learn of the native tribes and how they are being harassed by the army, as well as New Spain and their struggles. Remember the guy that was chucked out the window?
This is the place.
Well, his name is Phil, and he's the leader of the new Spanish Revolution, and he'll join you on your travels. This doctor here, he had an apprentice named Nadine, and she'll join you too. So along with Jake himself and his assistant Danny, you'll have a full team to travel with.
An invitation to the Jolly Good Club in El Presidio?
Yep. Check the date.
9 months ago.
That's right about the time he disappeared, isn't it?
It is indeed. I'd say it's obvious that the good doctor accepted the invitation.
And took his money with him?
Well, it wasn't in Chrysalis or his lab. And listen to this. You needn't have any concern for your valuables, as there is ample secure storage in the room. Don't get much clearer than that.
After getting some funds from an article that you write, you go to Lola. Remember in the demo that she was the woman we stole from? Well, in this playthrough, I broke in with a lockpick, so she wasn't as angry as she could have maybe been with me. Miss Lola is the only person with the means to travel the way we're going, and when she's on side, we go into part 2 of Rosewater. Traveling! In some fun Oregon Trail type shenanigans, we travel from Rosewater across state to El Presidio. This is probably the longest part of the game, and it really has nothing to do with the main part of the game at all.
I am rather looking forward to getting a better view of this part of the country. And should the scenery lack for diversion, I suppose I'll have recourse in the fellowship of my new traveling companions. Now that we've assembled in this unlikely venture, perhaps it's time we got to better know one another.
It is here, though, that you learn the real point of Rosewater is the cliched "the friends we made along the way" meme. Though I guess it is the friends we tried to make along the way, as you can just not make any friends, I guess. You'll have a few RNG locations you can visit with various different things to do, and 3 or so that are kind of unavoidable. It is where the heart of the story is, as you get to know your travel companions better, meet people who can tell you the wonders and misfortunes of the world at large, and you get to dig your teeth into some pretty decent puzzles. The RNG ones are fine, very short and interesting, but it is the bigger ones that pack the emotional punches, as you can imagine. Much like Lamplight City, you can also get these things wrong as well, so you might not get the best outcome to any given situation, which gives the game that sweet replayability factor just to see all the different outcomes. For me, the best of these stops was the old whaler's home. No, not because he wanted to kill whales, and I have a thing about killing whales, but because it's a good story. At first, I genuinely thought we were in for some slasher-type action, as it seemed too good to be true to find a random man in a big house willing to help us out in the storm. Then it took a turn.
Captain! You're still breathing, thank God. Hang on, I'll get help.
And we ended up trying to help a man with PTSD get over losing his entire team out hunting a whale. It was subtle and beautifully understated. You just help as best you can, and in the morning he's better, or maybe not if you fell, and I guess not really, just like he got a good night's sleep for the first time in years. It showed the team come together to help some stranger just because they were kind to us. The willingness of each person to get into character and do something kind for a stranger. The only one I didn't like much is the one with the second cult that we meet, and it wasn't for the story, just how long-winded and back and forth the puzzle was. In the end, even that one had a heartfelt story of someone that honestly believed they were doing God's work to bring people together. Whilst the commune had worked to a point, it was built on lies, and whilst I decided to personally out the culprit that was sabotaging people to make it to the commune, it did make me sad that I broke apart a group that seemed genuinely to have peaceful lives. Honestly, I'd say the traveling section feels like the longest part of the game. I think I've already said that. It was very long. Whilst I never got bored, it did feel like it would never end, and maybe part of me didn't want it to end either. It was here that you get to know your companions better. You get to talk to 2 of them before each adventure in their wagon, ask them their opinions and getting to know them a little better. You then have your adventures, which can also make them happier if you get things right. It feels like a proper road trip, which made it so much more enjoyable than if it had been just a couple cutscenes. By the end of it, I'd learned of Danny's struggles coming to terms with losing a good friend and having done nothing to help him. Phil having to realize that the way he was running his revolution was hurting people who had no interest in being part of his revolution. Nadine here had to figure out who she was not knowing where she came from. It was all very touching stuff. When you hit El Presidio and the third part of the game, I don't know if I hit it subpar or if there was a better way to get there, but you get there to find out that the hunt you've been on was all false, and they were actually here looking for the Doctor himself. This is where the more sci-fi part of the game comes in. More sciencey part, at least. It isn't huge, much like Lamplight City, but it is there, as this is an alternate universe, and they do have their own version of electricity that they are playing around with. I have to say, I really like the very honest look at science, that good men will make inventions for the good of humanity, but it takes one bad thing and one horrible person to turn that into a weapon. Clark just wants to make a clean and reusable energy source, but because of his Expo disaster that killed people, his research was banned and he was forced into hiding. After being found by someone who wanted to harness the power to make a weapon and take over the world, basically, that was what Clark ended up working on, because he needed to work on it one way or the other. We end with Harley going back to write her piece and giving us an update on what the other characters are up to, and then 19 hours in, my first playthrough of Rosewater is done.
So what do you suggest I do?
I'm thinking perhaps you can repurpose it.
Come again?
This story's got everything. Adventure, mad scientists, conspiracies, betrayals. Folk could pay through the nose to read this. If it were a novel.
Novel?
Before I go on, I would like to point out that Rosewater has a new Game Plus system where you can customize what RNG segments in the traveling section show up, giving you a chance to try them all at your own pace. A very nice touch in my opinion. Again, I want to do a really in-depth look at this game later on down the line when I'm done with my backlog of videos and just in a better place to do things. I want to throw more hours into this and Lamplight City and give them the proper love and care they deserve because I cannot tell you how much love they deserve. Rosewater is nothing like Lamplight City, whilst being similar enough in the best of places. Much of Rosewater will be about talking to people. To move on any part of the story, you'll need to find out who the players in that particular story are and what they want. Unlike Lamplight City, you have inventory-based puzzles in this one, and it is much more hands-on experience. Again though, you can figure out most of these puzzles in different ways. You'd be right in saying some ways are more optimal than others, but you never feel blocked out of too much if you go down your own path. In the demo review, I said it was like a built-in difficulty system, and it really is. This is really shown in moments like when you need to outshoot a revolutionary. You get a practice round in 3 attempts, but the game doesn't stop you from moving on if you fail. It sucks, I sucked, but you just ask Danny to do it for you, and as a stunt shooter, he'll complete it. There are moments where you have to pick between 2 people's ideas. Neither will leave the party or hold it against you if you pick the other one, but the outcomes will vary. You have a nifty inventory that does clear itself out from time to time when you don't need something anymore. Some things will stick with you for a bit, whilst others will just go in time. It never gets too full, as the inventory stuff isn't necessarily that important. You do need to combine things at times, and I found that you had to pick the right thing up first to combine it with the next thing. It was weird, but easy enough to get used to. I really did like the inventory a whole lot. Harley also obviously keeps a journal with her, and whilst they stopped reading after leaving Rosewater, it is handy to give it a look if you suddenly feel like you don't know what you're doing anymore. In fact, when you get to El Presidio, you'll have to go out and look for the places to go to. The map itself turns into a giant puzzle, and it is a good idea if you don't pay attention or forget where you were meant to go to just give it a quick look. I was smart and I did that smile. Honestly, Harley's just built differently. She's not scared to get her hands dirty, and the great thing about her is you have quite a lot of freedom to shape her responses to people in any way you want. I had her being quite level-headed and to the point. She always stood her ground and told people how she felt, never sugarcoating anything. I was able to give advice that I feel was needed, like when Phil felt he had to choose between 2 viewpoints and back one of them, and I told him that it was the people's choice, not his.
Speaking to Antonio and Isabel has made me realize that leaders should not make every decision. For us to truly be free, we must each be allowed to choose our destinies.
It seems to me that if you make a decision one way or the other, you're as bad as that corrupt government you're trying to resist. You're fighting for freedom. So why not give them the freedom to choose for themselves?
She felt like a great avatar for the player to get in and enjoy the journey instead of being there as the character set in stone to witness the journey through. That is kind of how Miles was in Lamplight City. It's not a bad thing, it suited Lamplight City. It would not have suited Rosewater, so I'm happy they changed that up in this game. Much of Harley's development as a person and as a character happened off screen in her childhood and the way she grew up. She's very comfortable with who she is, and no doubt she learns a thing or two on her way, but we genuinely play the biographer, the person who follows the main characters around to tell their story. And whilst that isn't quite true, as Harley very much is the main character obviously, the fact she doesn't need the development and that we get to put ourselves into her means that her journey ends up meaning a whole bunch more to us because it's our journey. I loved learning about my friends, finding new people on the road, diving deeper into this world that Lamplight City started. I don't think the main drive of the characters had to be that great. It ended with the happier of 2 endings, and we managed to find the treasure we didn't know we were looking for. We, as Harley, brought Danny and Phil together, Nadine and Lola, and we helped people along our way. Rosewater is also wonderfully presented. Its backdrops for your journey are gorgeous, from small towns, barren deserts, to a bigger city. The skies were amazing to look at, especially when you first step out into El Presidio. I also loved the look of the water the few times it was on screen. They did a great job of making it feel alive. This was all made even better with the voice acting. Once again, they were playing it up to the Western themes, but no voice was over the top or corny. It never took you out of the game. Harley had the same dry wit and openness that Bill had, maybe toned down a little, but at the same time, she isn't a voice inside someone's head either. She's also not dead and bitter. She has some traits of Bill's, but she wasn't humming when people were having private times with their wives.
Don't worry, Miles. I don't watch when you and Adelaide are having your private time.
It would be nice if you didn't spend the whole time humming.
I thought you appreciated some romantic music.
Our main cast were fantastically done, and it was always a pleasure to be in a scene with multiple characters getting to say their lines.
You should have seen it. Some of my finest work.
I have to admit, that was resourceful of you. Although we probably shot whatever goodwill we had with the Luminarians.
I should say, was that really necessary?
We had no other choice.
If you ask me, we did the world a favor by raising that Chamber of Horrors.
I assume you didn't come up empty-handed.
I found Clark's journal. Have a look at this letter that was inside.
I love the travel map too. Not just the actual map where we marked our journey, but the two maps where you get to see Harley just wander about as she found where she was. It reminded me greatly of Monkey Island's map, where you'd see Guybrush running up and down and have to stop to fight pirates along the way. It isn't my favorite travel screen, an English haunting, but I enjoyed it greatly and thought it was a very fun throwback to a map that I grew up with. Now, one thing I don't necessarily talk a lot about is accessibility and quality of life additions. I don't know why, but this became a big thing in Rosewater for me. Being able to double-click to move myself off-screen faster or to interact with something faster made the game so much less of a slog. I loved the animations and the artwork, but at times it felt so slow, and maybe that was on purpose, but I like to be able to visualize what I needed to do and get to it quickly. Again, it isn't something that I usually do, but especially in places like the second cult area where you are back and forth all the time, the knowledge that the next place I had to go I could just double-click the moment it hit the screen made it much more bearable. It was probably the area in the traveling section you spend most time in, and one of those reasons is because it just takes so long for Harley to move from one section to the other. They also added some great accessibility options, from changing the handwriting font so it's easier for you to read, text backdrops, alerts for saves, extended timers for sections that you have to think quick, and high contrast inventory items. I said in the demo review that this game felt like it was being built so anyone and everyone that plays it could complete it, and this just confirms it. Anyone who picks up this game has in some way been thought of as much as they could be. For me, it honestly feels like they wanted absolutely anyone to be able to pick up the game and complete it without getting stuck, getting frustrated, or feeling unable to indulge in the world. But when I was reading through one of the diary pages, someone in my chat mentioned how they would never be able to read it in a million years, which could be off-putting to someone, especially with how big these handwritten chapters can be. But knowing there is an option to change that, well, that's a game changer, guys. Rosewater feels like a game made with love, for people to fall in love with. Though I am going to be a prick now with two things. Number one, the game is constantly picked up as copyrighted on my stream. Sadly, most of my VODs will have at least one or two parts of the game muted. It sucks, as the music was a highlight, and I don't think that was something the team wanted, and I don't really know why it was picked up, but it was sad. And point number B, there are a number of times when the cleanup on boxes weren't great. I noticed it once on the butterflies here, and then it was just a gift that kept on giving. It doesn't ruin the game, and some people won't even notice it. I'm being a prick. I did notice it, and I'm putting it in here because no game can be perfect. But boy howdy did Rosewater attempt to be perfect, and it got so close. Honestly, go out and play Rosewater. You don't need to have played Lamplight City to enjoy it, but knowing that Lamplight City is canonically earlier in the storyline, and then seeing maybe a face or two familiar in Rosewater is a nice treat. Though, I guess it would also work the other way around. Knowing of Harley and Bill's relationship is pretty much the same. Please play this game. I beg people to play this game. It is just so good. Link is in the description. Press the link, people. Press it. Go buy. Wish list. Go give it love. For me, though, that is it. I will at some point, hopefully in the future, maybe this year, probably not, though I have so much to do, have a more in-depth look at both this and Lamplight City, as I keep saying, and I'm going to keep saying it. I can't even begin to tell you how much I look forward to their next game. Brundislav Games has got me hooked. But if you want to support this bear here in all their endeavors, then please feel free to like this video, comment below on whether you'd fight for the revolution or not, and subscribe. Also, give me a follow over at twitch.tv/Annakuma, where I play games 5 days a week, including point and clicks on a Monday, because I love them, and I need to stop my addiction by keeping it to 1 day a week only. Sometimes. I played Rosewater most of the week. Till next time, guys, don't fall for the con men out in the Wild West. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.